The general thought was that the Browns were going to be looking for a quarterback in the first round of next year's draft. Take a look at some of the guys that have been looking at that. Albert Breer, Todd McShay. Coming into the season, you thought maybe a half dozen guys would seem to have a shot playing their way into the first round. But there are no surefire things in the upcoming draft like Caleb Williams or Drake May going into 2023. You also had Jaden Daniels there. The rubble left. Nussmeier benched. Aller hurt. Sellers uneven. Might be a tough year to need one. And Todd McShay follows that up by saying 7 teams in the top 11 with varying degrees of QB needs. And if his intel, being Todd McShay, who's a draft guy, is correct, Dante Moore, Lenora Sellers likely to be returning to college. It leaves just 2 top 10 worthy QB prospects by his counts. Fernando Mendoza, Ty Simpson of Alabama. Both have eligibility left as well. Your thoughts on quarterbacks in the upcoming draft relative to fit for the Browns if indeed they decide to go that way?
I'm with Todd on this. It's Fernando Mendoza and Ty Simpson. It's really funny. People talk about like there's no surefire things. I kind of think Fernando Mendoza is on that level of like, hey, he has really shown over 2 schools and systems, and there's been a bunch of growth from when he was at Cal last year in Indiana. I feel like he is a franchise quarterback. He just reminds me so much of Matt Ryan when you just the way he processes and gets through reads, and if that first read's open, rip it. There's no hesitation. The thing with Fernando Mendoza that I think was the most impressive was actually in this last game, because he struggled for most of that game against Iowa and threw just an awful interception. Like you couldn't excuse it. It wasn't tipped, wasn't a great defensive play. It was just a bad throw by him. But then ball in his hands, gotta go, gotta have it. He drives right down the field, puts the ball in a place. Omar Cooper had to make a great catch, but it was in a place where either Omar Cooper was catching it or it was going out of bounds. He wasn't putting it in harm's way, and he's really cut down on the turnover worthy plays. I just think that if you draft Matt Ryan, you're drafting a Matt Ryan. If you draft Fernando Mendoza out of Indiana, I think he's fantastic. Then on the other side, it's interesting because I kind of have a rule with quarterbacks. I want a guy that's got at least 2 years of starting experience, and Ty Simpson doesn't have that. But as I've talked about on my show with Bill Sparks, I think he's the exception to the quarterback starts rule because he does not look like a dude that has single digit stats. And it's not like Alabama's playing a bunch of nobodies. Like his processing speed and his ability to go read 1, 2, 3, 4 and throw the ball over the middle of the field, which is where a lot of quarterbacks struggles. That's where he's at his best, in the congested areas. And he looks like a multi-year starter. It looks like he took those first couple of years while he's a backup and just absorbed as much knowledge as possible. And I think Ty Simpson, you getting a little bit of a risk because of this lack of starts. And you see that show up sometimes when he's under pressure, where he'll get a little antsy, a little, sped up in the pocket. But just like Fernando Mendoza, one thing that I love when I'm watching a quarterback is seeing a guy that's in complete and total control of the offense, knows where his guys are going to be, when they're going to be there. You get that with both Mendoza and Ty Simpson. And I think if the Browns, I would trade up to make sure I got one of them, and not risk losing them, depending on where you end up picking. But I do think those two are worthy of giving up extra draft capital to go up and get, because I think they're franchise quarterback caliber prospects.